I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our freedoms, for the city. We just pray that you would be with us this evening as we work through the agenda and do what's right in the sight, in your sight. And grant us wisdom as we continue. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Before we approve the agenda, I'd like to add an item in front of H1. It's called H0.
Or I0?
H, under unfinished business.
Okay.
To go into executive session, discuss an item relating to attorney-client privilege. So we'll do that directly. So I entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Aubrey makes the motion.
I second.
Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Citizen comments. Item D, 3 minutes. Just stand up and we'll listen and let you speak. So, Randy, looks like you're first up.
Yeah, that's what happens when you invite an engineer to something like this. Honorable Mayor, Council, and staff, I rise to express a concern about the proposed water rates that you're going to be talking about today. As I looked at the proposal, something just really jumped up at me and slapped me in the face, and that was, at the highest rate, we're talking about a 2.5 times increase in the water rate. You're talking about a 3 times increase in the base rate for the smallest users. I think this is excessive. Every one of them is, with the exception of the $2,000 2,000 gallon base customer, every one of them is over 50% increase in the rates, and that just seems to be a little excessive to do that all at once. I realize there's a need to improve our financial position and develop some reserves, but the way this looks to me, it's just a little bit too much too soon. That's my concern.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last chance. Going. John, we'll close citizen comments for this evening. Item E, ex parte agreement, conflict of interest. At this time, I'd like to give the council representatives a chance to declare any conflicts or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's agenda items impartially. Do you have any issues?
Not at this time.
I don't either, thank you. Moving on. Appointments, proclamations, recognitions, and nominations. I'm going to have Randy stand back up here for a second. Saturday at the Sedgwick County Association of Cities, Randy was appointed to the 911 Emergency Communications Advisory Council. He made the mistake of mentioning to the mayor that he'd like to get involved in city government. This opportunity popped up, and just a little bit I got to know him. His background fits so well into it, and he's graciously been appointed, but I think he's accepted, and I'm sure excited for him and his willingness to serve in that capacity. So I just wanted to recognize you for that and say thank you.
I hope to represent the town well.
Thank you. Appreciate you doing it. It's great. Okay, moving along to G, consent agenda. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Brent's made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll give it to Krista. Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move to 8-0, and we're going to take 30 minutes, go into executive session based on KSA 75-4319B2 to receive advice regarding the matter, including the Assistant City Administrator, City Attorney, Community Development Director, like I said, for 30 minutes. I entertain a motion to do that.
I make a motion.
Krista motions,
Second?
Brent seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll be back in 30 minutes. Thank you.
Mayor, should we announce the time we're going to return?
I said 30 minutes. So that would be
7:35?
7:37. Stick there for a minute. Well, Okay, we'll go ahead and reconvene. There was no binding action taken in executive session, so we will move on to item H1, and Keaton is joining us on the phone. His wife's ill, and so he's trying to take care of his kids and participate here a little bit too. So.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, this is H1. This is Maple Tree rezoning case number zone 24-3. So, quick background about the company submitted a rezoning application on behalf of developer Paul Kelsey for a land generally located off the 199th and Maple in the southwest corner. Land is around 35 acres and will be platted into 88 lots. The developer would like to build single-family detached housing on this land as well as duplexes and several twin homes. The land was annexed into the corporate city limits on December 18th of 2023. During the April 18, 2024 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission informed the developer that it viewed the project favorably, should contain the following layout, with duplex lots being 24, twin homes being 9, single family lots being 55. Furthermore, during the April 15, 2024 City Council meeting, the governing body stated that based on the discussion, City Council was in consensus that the development was appropriate given the layout as presented on the April 15, 2024 regular minutes. On June 10th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing, and after hearing the thoughts of the large public, voted to approve the rezoning 6-0. On June 17th, the City Council reviewed the development and decided with majority vote to send it back to the Planning Commission for reconsideration with the understanding of the joint workshop that we held on the same day to discuss growth and development duplex ratios. On July 8th, the City Council and Planning Commission held a joint workshop to discuss growth and development, and after that joint workshop, the Planning Commission held a regular Planning Commission meeting, and after reviewing the zoning case motion, unanimously reaffirmed the original vote to approve the case 6-0. So at this point, City Council is considering the final zoning step for the Maple Tree development. 35 acres, single family lots are 55, duplex lots are 24, twin homes are 9, southwest corner of 199th and Maple. This is the land in question. This is a sketch layout. This is how they are proposing the layout of the land uses, with the duplexes being in this courtyard over its cul-de-sac, the twin homes being here, and then the single family buffering the layout of the development. It is recommended the City Council waive the reading of the ordinance with voice and approve the rezoning for the Maple Tree development rezoning case number zone -24-3 along with the restricted covenant as presented. We do have Hoffman here, agent for the applicant. At this point, any questions, comments? I'm ready to do the discussion. Open.
I've got a question for, who's the representative here?
Phil Meyer, Ball.
Phil, I've got a question for you.
Come on up. Left and right, green's there.
See what we can do.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening. You know, the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been in discussions about the number of duplexes in our community, and I know we sent this back to the Planning Commission here in our previous meeting, and we also then had a meeting with them. You know, at that meeting, they approved and sent this back to us 6-0. But after they did that, they had a discussion about duplexes that I wish they would have had before they voted. And the raw numbers that we looked at through some housing studies, we're in a situation right now where if everything builds out, we're going to have about 2,200 single-family residences and then 1,100 rental residences, which includes duplexes, and there's about 160 single-family homes in our community that are being rented. So to continue on at a 60-40 split is something that we're struggling with. And you know, we're not trying to create any hardship on anyone, and we don't want to discourage development in our community, but in the same breath, we also feel like we have an obligation to the existing community members to have the structure and the quality of life issues that come with maybe that number going to 50-50. So I guess I'm just curious in terms of, do you have any idea what Mr. Kelsey would say or do if we didn't change the plat, but instead of duplexes on that back street, would he be willing to entertain building some smaller patio single-family homes?
I've got a really long answer to that if you want it, or I can just stop and answer the question and then.
So the quick answer is no.
Correct. quick answer is no.
But,
In the future.
Yeah, so, if I can.
that's why I asked you to come up here. No,
If I
no,
ramble
no, that's
on,
fine, that's.
do that, you won't
No, this is
offend me.
important,
So,
and that's why
Yeah.
you're
Bill
asking
Meyer
the
with
questions.
Hoffman Company, agent for the applicant. I apologize, I wasn't here last time I was in front of council, I missed that meeting, and that's when you guys kicked it back downstream. A couple things I'll share with you, and these are my thoughts, okay? This is my opinion.
Just
When
one
I have
second,
talked
is this
to-
mic picking up good? Or,
You guys got me okay? All right. So, back in March, April, we brought a sketch plat to Planning Commission and to, City Council. And this was the sketch plat we brought in front of you. And we were looking to see, was this ratio okay? This was the 60-40 split that you guys required when we did 23rd Street addition. And you wanted to know if this was okay again at this location. And so, based upon Planning Commission's approval and City Council's approval, Mr. Kelsey put this project this land under contract to purchase it. So, I'm feeling like I made a mistake as a consultant, because I should have probably just filed the zone change. Might have got approved in April, because at that time, I think council was more comfortable with this. I know you're rethinking that today, but he did go put that land under contract to purchase it based on that information. So that's got him a little frustrated at the moment. I would tell you guys, I sat here last planning commission when you had your workshop, for your workshop and your planning commission. And Mr. Hoffman was here with Hoffman Strategy Group, and I thought he did a great presentation to you guys. Had a lot of valuable information. And I was taking notes through that of what I thought council was asking. And one of the questions was, how do we get starter homes going? What is a starter home today, and how do we get those going in this town? Second one was, how many duplexes do we build? At what point are we at market saturation? And I can go over the starter homes, because those are coming. Those are becoming more popular, and developers are looking to do that. Duplexes are still valuable. People are still looking to purchase those. Builders are building them. There's a market for them, and there's a market for rentals. I don't know how long that's going to last, but the ratios you have today kind of match what is happening in our society for housing. So I'm not too worried about too many rentals. I'm going to suggest, if you want to change this 40-60 ratio, that at least, staff is on record now and one consultant's on record, so we'll know in the future. If you want to change it in the future, fine. I'm hoping you don't do that tonight on this one. And the conversation was rentals versus home ownership. And are a lot of the young professionals today, or young people, going to want to own a home as they go forward in their life, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? We don't really know the answer to that. I think many of them will want to go own a home, and many of them are just going to rent, because that is what they're very comfortable with. So I think you're going to see 20 years from now a higher rental rate than we did, when we were in our 20s and 30s going through that process. How do you get a variety of housing options? And I would tell you, on this particular development right here, he's around 35 acres, which is not much. He's bringing you 3 housing markets. You got the regular single-family homes in the yellow. You got the townhomes in the light brown. You got the twin-family homes in the dark brown. And to get 3 housing options in that is good. And at the same time, it moves all of them quicker. The secret for most of these developers, and you guys had some conversations about, they're just going to keep doing duplexes, and that's all they're going to do. We're going to do whatever the market wants, what the market needs, and they're making adjustments now. So, as you see Mr. Kelsey doing 23rd Street Edition and 167th Street Edition, It's got 5 different housing markets going in all that ground. So we got the duplex, we got starter, we're on the call. Upper starter homes at 23rd Street. Then we've got the smaller lots for newer starter homes. We have patio homes, and we have the single family like you see here, which I'm gonna say is 400 to 600, but somewhere in that range. So why does he do that many markets? Because he wants to move that ground as quick as he can. And there's a market for every one of those right now. So that's why we're marching in that direction. So with that, don't know if that helped.
No, thank you. No, I
Answer
think
your
it's important that we, get some feedback from you this evening, so thank you.
So the other part, if you want me to ramble a little bit longer,
I'll give you a little more to ramble.
I'll be quick.
All right.
I've watched this in Goddard I've been doing this for too long, and I joke, I've just done this for too long. So, same developer, Mr. Kelsey, did his first development in 2000, which was the Seasons. He did a Spring Hill in 2002. He did St. Andrews in 2010. He did Cloverleaf in 2019. Through that whole time, just kind of a flashback last week, watching council struggle with, do we want this, do we not? I've watched that since Spring Hill came in here. And for a while, there wasn't one housing. And then it came, when's the commercial coming? What type of houses do we want? So just what you're struggling with, very, very normal. And I've seen that in Goddard for 24 years. So your conversations are valid.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm done.
Very good, thanks. No, really appreciate it.
I think one of the things you're struggling with is what you pinpointed is that we want a different variety. Right? So, for what I'd like to see in the future, and from what most of the constituents I speak with, is that we're going to get out of the single family duplex option. You addressed that a while ago. So we had a wider variety of options in the future. I think it'd be duly noted. I think it'll satisfy a lot of the subject matter that goes on when this comes up, right? So.
One of the things that I'm concerned about is what we've got platted right now. There's 420 duplexes, which is 840 resident living units, and we're not the only community in the ring around Wichita that has platted lots for duplexes. I mean, you can, I think all total, our plats have maybe 1,400 living units in each of them. I mean, when you total it up, and you can kind of go around to Mays and Bel Air and Derby and Andover and Hayesville, and they have similar numbers. And so we've been told there's a housing shortage in Sedgwick County that is somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 units. And if you add up the ring around Wichita's platted development lots, you're talking about between 8,000 and 9,000 lots. I've also heard somebody say that the housing shortage is greater than 5, but I think we have a responsibility to be cognizant of what's not only just happening here in our community, but what's happening in the whole market. Wichita's jumped across 167th Street there north of Mays. They're not going to slow down what's going on in Wichita. But I think we have an obligation to determine what type of mix we have as a community in terms of the number of residences and the number of resident rentals. Personally, I think we've reached the limit. I don't think at this point another 24 duplex is gonna make or break us. But I do think that we, probably after we vote on this, that we need to have, staff come back, and maybe we need to make it clear in some type of ordinance that, one, we either are gonna consider going forward a ratio of 20-80, which if you think about it, if you build 100, you have 100 lots, and you build 6 or 80 homes, and on the 20 lots, you build 20 duplexes, that's 40 rental residences to the 80 homes. So that's a 1/3, 2/3, 1/3, 2/3 ratio. And based on the feedback that we've received from the community, people are really concerned about living in, being the duplex capital of Sedgwick County or Kansas. And I think we have that obligation to set that. That's not the job of the planning commission. We're the elected officials, and if the members of the community don't agree with that, elections will take place and the policies will change. But, so at this point, I'd be willing to entertain a motion to waive the reading of the ordinance. Unless there's more discussion. Anybody else want to say anything?
Well, one thing you said, Mayor, is that growth is gonna happen regardless. So we have to be smart about what that looks like, Chris, I mean, you're a perfect example. We need to look at down the road what it looks like. You're exactly right. Whether if we're controlling that growth or it's controlled elsewhere, we're gonna be absorbed. Right? So that's the thing, and I appreciate you up here speaking, because I want you to speak as long as you could so we have full transparency. Everybody that's watching this, maybe they have questions, will I answer inadvertently, but they understand that growth is gonna happen, it has to happen. So that's about all I have to say on that.
Okay.
I like Forrest Gump, right?
I'll make another run at this. I'll entertain a motion to
I
waive
make
the
a
reading of
motion that
the
we waive the
ordinance.
reading of ordinance.
Okay.
Second.
Brent makes the motion, Aubrey seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Keaton says aye as well. To approve the rezoning is a roll call vote. I'll ask the city clerk to go ahead and call the roll.
First
We need a
we need a
motion
motion.
first. Get a motion to approve this ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning of the Maple Tree Development rezoning case 24-3 along with the restrictive covenants as presented.
Aubrey makes the motion.
Second.
Keaton makes a second. Now we'll call for the roll.
Councilmember Hall?
No.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Trailer?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Councilmember Fish?
Fish.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, Myers.
Is there an ordinance number?
Ordinance number?
Yes, ordinance 965.
965. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Next one will be new business, 9-1. Thank you very much.
Gotta get caught up on my computer here.
Mr. Mayor, just call me back if you guys need me again.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Honorable Mayor, Council, Kevin Cowan with Gilmore and Bell, the city's bond council. This agenda item relates to the public hearing in connection with proposed special assessments for Cloverleaf Farms Edition Phase 2 and Phase 3 and Arbor Creek Edition Phase 2. Little background without getting into too much detail. Previously authorized and temporarily financed all of these improvements pursuant to petitions submitted to the city by the developer of those properties and in accordance with the applicable statute, which is KSA 12-6A01 et sec, relating to special assessments for public improvements. These proceedings tonight simply continue the process for approving and imposing special assessments on the properties benefiting from the improvements, and will lead to the issuance of the city's general obligation bonds that will retire the existing temporary notes, Series 2021-2, 2021-3, and 2022-1. And those bonds will be the permanent long-term financing for the infrastructure improvements. Quickly, again, the projects we're talking about are water distribution system improvements for Cloverleaf Farms Edition Phase 2, street improvements for Cloverleaf Farms Edition Phase 2, sanitary sewer improvements for Harbor Creek Edition Phase 2, stormwater sewer improvements, Harbor Creek Edition Phase 2, paving improvements, Harbor Creek Edition Phase 2, water distribution system improvements for Harbor Creek Edition Phase 2, and then street improvements and water line improvements for Cloverleaf Farms Edition Phase 3. And as noted on the screen, the final cost has been set forth. We discussed this at the last meeting. The governing body approved those final costs. Those are based on everything that has been spent on those improvements, including temporary note interest and also adding bond costs. So those are the final costs that were used to determine assessments. Those assessments were spread, the proposed assessments were spread against affected lots on an equal per lot or per parcel basis. Notice of the hearing was given. You called for the hearing. You directed and authorized that notice be given both by mail to the last known address of affected property owners and by publication, and those things have occurred. So again, to the original point, tonight we'll have a hearing. The purpose of that hearing is to hear any discussion of the special assessments. Typically, it's perhaps how was it calculated, is there an error in the calculation, things of that nature. Once people have been heard, you can close the hearing, and then there will be an ordinance to be considered. And that ordinance would approve the assessments if there are no changes based on public comment. So I will stop there. If you have any questions of me, happy to address those. If not, you can open the public hearing, and I would still be available for questions during that time.
Anyone have any questions for Kevin? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
I second.
Brett motions, Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is now open.
I have a question.
Sure.
Steve Farmer, one of the many landowners in Cloverleaf Farms, and the question I have about the specials in particular, I know just a couple that are affecting me personally, but I know we're going to spread it fairly, and I get that. The question about the specials in particular, though, are they per lot or per parcel? Because the cost of bringing the street in front of a lot should be, if there's a twin home on it or a duplex, for example, then those have traditionally always been split. The one cost of getting the utility or the street or the water, whatever it is there. That's all I want to make sure, is that we're not doubling the specials because there's two parcels on one lot. Because each half of the twin home is a single family residence that has its own personal legal description. And so it's really not a duplex in Cloverleaf. They're actually twin homes that have single family residence. That's why they look a little different if you've noticed. One's a side load and one's a front load. So they look like a big ranch. They don't look like the cookie cut duplexes, which are the cheaper versions, and those are typically the rentals. And I get why we want to limit rentals, but Mr. Kelsey does a really good job on his twin homes with both Klossmeyer and Comfort in the Cloverleaf development, if you get a chance to see that. And so that's why we chose to buy those as investment properties, because they don't look like cookie cutters. They will command rent and nice rents. And then the folks that can afford nice rents, you have no problem with paying. And also the HOA takes care of the community beautifully. And I mean, anything that goes wrong, I get a letter, you know, a nasty gram. So that way we're really policing it very, very well in Cloverleaf, and making sure that everybody's property values are protected that way. Which I understand when it comes to duplexes, it's all rentals. If there's not an HOA in there, you are gonna ask for trouble. You're gonna have blight. So, but again, the main question is just, how are those gonna get spread on the two parcels on one lot?
Kevin, you want to address that?
Yeah.
And Steve, you might write your name down and sign in.
Okay, we will.
Okay.
Remind me. Yeah.
So these specials are equally per lot per parcel. If there is a separate legally described parcel, could be a lot, it could be a parcel. In this case, and I don't have the information in front of me, but there were a number, I won't call them lot splits. There's a lot plus a portion of a lot that created a bigger parcel. And Mike, I don't know if you know off the top of your head. I mean, they were identified in the petition as parcels A through H or something like that. I can probably jump ahead. Maybe not. That would be too much information.
You get it back.
But yes, so we have lots, and then we had a number of parcels identified as, again, A through H or something. And A might have been lot 80 and a portion of lot 81. So that parcel, and I don't know how it developed. I don't know if that's a duplex or a twin home, but that parcel gets one full share of an assessment. Okay. So it is equal per separately identifiable lot that was identified in the petition.
Very good.
Can I add on that?
Sure.
So it was platted as a layout, and then when Twin Homes entered the market as a possibility, Mr. Paul Kelsey basically did a boundary line adjustment, which took some of the lots and pushed them together to make them a little bit bigger, and then we went back and we split the lots. So as Kevin was mentioning, we spread it pro rata between each parcel, but then once there was a lot split, we did a 50-50 split on that particular one.
And I want to make sure that's the continued plan.
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be 50-50 per parcel. So originally it was, for the lot splits, we just took, if lot A was $100 and it got split, it's 50 on each side.
Perfect.
If that makes sense.
Yes, that is correct. And just want to mention to you, we'll probably be discussing this a little bit more when there's that sort of, not a lot split, but where you have a large parcel, a duplex is constructed. I think they do a survey, run a survey line right through the middle of it, so you have duplexes on either side. If we don't do anything else at the city level, the county will say, what do we do with this single assessment? It's the same assessment that the lot next door has. How do we handle that? It's been the city's policy in the past, is what we did last year, earlier this year, to just split that 50-50. And so, again, we'll discuss it more in connection with a couple of different projects. But I think that's accurate. So if you had a parcel that had a $10,000 assessment, duplex is constructed, survey line done, that parcel is split in half, that $10,000 assessment will go $5,000 and $5,000. So we don't change the original fractions from what they were. We may take a whole, if it was 30 lots or parcels, so each lot or parcel gets 1/30 of the cost. And then one of those lots or parcels gets split in half. We'll take the 1/30th assessment and say, well, you've been split in half into a duplex, so you'll get half of that original assessment. If that makes sense. Hopefully I'm not confusing more than
Well, very good. I think we got that. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm PJ Ruxton. I live at parcel P71, and I'm gonna show my ignorance tonight. So I got the bill here, or the proposal, and it doesn't make sense to me what the $9,000 in column A is for versus the $4,000 in column B, because there's no explanation. I just know that there is a interest fee and everything else, so that's really what I'm here for tonight.
An explanation?
What our numbers truly mean here.
And it may just.
Probably a few pages back.
Yes, a few pages back, or first column is. When you get to the.
I'm actually back here, so that's what I was.
Can you trace it back up? One is three.
Okay, and is that the total then going to be due, or is that
Combined.
Combined, okay. That's what I was most curious about.
And it may be useful to add, this is the principal amount of the assessment. And the city will advise property owners, you have an opportunity to prepay this. If you don't prepay it, it will be collected over time with interest. So any interest, if you're paying over time, will be added to that.
Okay. Thank you, that's what I needed to know.
That's good, we got it done in 3 minutes, so that's nice. Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the hearing.
Nope. Okay, we have a motion. Chris has made a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
Aubrey seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Entertain a motion to waive the reading of the ordinance that's in place for this.
I make a motion to waive the reading of the ordinance.
Brent makes the motion. I'm going to second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion to vote on the ordinance.
I make a motion to vote on the ordinance.
Kristen makes a motion to vote.
Second.
Aubrey seconds. All those in favor, we'll go roll call.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Mayor Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Trailer,
Yes.
Councilmember Collins,
Yes.
the ordinance 966.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Next item on the agenda. Item 2, water rate. Our consultant, Matt Long, is here. Where have we seen you before?
Long time. So, as your brilliant CFO described in the last meeting, our presentation of budget included the assumption that we were going to increase water rates. And this is the ordinance that would make those adjustments. Proposed rate changes are requested to address solvency issues for the water utility. The recent years' fund performance has dropped to a level that proper reserve funding is not possible. Failures in our water well system include much of the water reserve fund balance. Proposed rate adjustments will allow us to rebuild fund balance in the water reserve fund, provide an adequate level of operating capital in the water utility fund, and bring our usage rates in line with those of water utilities in our peer communities. The graphic here, if you look here, second line at the bottom, these are our current rates. The very bottom line here are the rates that we have proposed. The base rate will increase by less than $6 for a base use customer. It's a customer that uses 2,000 gallons or less. And that is still about $9 lower than the average of all of these peer communities combined, including the city of Wichita. The monthly cost for a customer that uses double that amount of water will go up considerably by almost a little over $13. But if you look at where our per 1,000 gallon use rate is compared to these peer communities, we are by far the lowest. Which means that people that use higher volumes of water in our community are are essentially not paying enough. There's a very low per 1,000 gallon usage that we are currently charging. And that's one of the reasons why our current rate structure allows people to You know, it's really a disadvantage for low-use customers because they don't really get much savings compared to people that use a lot of water. And, you know, we've talked with this body before about water conservation and things like that, and it's hard to have people conserve water when they're paying such a bargain bin price for the water that they have. And we know that water is becoming more and more precious to this community. We understand that with our growth, we are going to need to be more efficient with water usage. So that's another reason we're proposing these rates. If you look at here, it is quite a big increase from where we were before, but that's for a customer using 15,000 gallons of water a month. Somebody using 50,000 gallons of water a month for a resident, that is somebody that is watering probably every day during the summer. And again, it's only the summer months that they're using that much water. We do have residents that use a lot more than that, but you know, they're going to about $40-some a month for just the usage portion. They're going to be paying over $120 for that usage. But again, that's because they're using so much water. Are there any questions about these rates? These are the actual proposed rates. There are different categories. So residential within city limits, they're going to pay a $10 monthly debt service fee, which is about 88 cents from the previous debt service portion. We've added customers since those debt service rates were applied, and because our debt service is applied evenly, that cost came down a little bit. We're $16.50 a month is the monthly minimum. Combined with that $10 to get you to 26.5. And for that, residential customer can use up to 2,000 gallons of water and still pay the base rate. For every 1,000 gallons over the base rate, they'll pay $450,000 per gallon from up to 5,000. The per 1,000 gallons over 5,000 goes up to 550, and per 1,000 gallons over 10,000 goes up to 650. We do charge more for residents outside the city limits, so they will pay a higher monthly fee, but that they currently do as well under our current rate structure. And again, there's a slight increase again per 1,000 gallons also for those customers outside the city limits. Non-residential, this is going to include commercial. This is going to include essentially any customer that's not a resident is paying on a regular monthly billing. These are what for those inside city limits. They'll pay the same per 1,000 gallons, but they'll again have a higher monthly minimum or a higher base rate than our residential customers do. And this is the proposed rates for non-residential uses outside the city limits. There are very few of these, by the way. And those are going to be the per gallon for them. They match the same per gallon as residential outside the city limits. And then bulk water sales, those are the rates we're proposing. Those are higher than, considerably higher than what we have now, but again, they're taking into account the volume of what our communities are paying for bulk water sales. The only additional thing that we've added into this is that the base rate will increase by 2% once every year, just to take advantage of, or not take advantage of, but to address things like inflation and other commodity costs that do drive up the city's cost of operating water utility. This is a cash forecast that we've prepared. If you look at the next 5 years at the current water rates that you have above, and this is assuming that we're adding back in those transfers to reserves, you'll see that after the second year, the fund balance will be upside down. This is assuming a 3% growth rate in revenue every year, and the same for I believe 5% growth rate in expenditure. The chart at the bottom, the same forecast that includes the water rate increases and includes the 2% in addition to the 3% regular growth rate we projected. The growth will probably be higher because we know we're still adding customers every year. For the sake of comparison, we kept it like that. And this shows you that we do have the ability to build fund balance here. We will be able to transfer into the water reserve fund at an appropriate level. We will possibly be able to transfer into the capital improvement with the general fund to offset tax impact at some point, I would say within 3 to 5 years. We are one of the few communities who don't have the ability to subsidize our general operations with water and sewer. Everybody else has the opposite of what we have. We have great growth and valuation, so we're able to maintain, pretty good operations with our tax revenue, but everybody else has the opposite, where they're struggling with growth because they're not growing as quickly as we are, but they do have a progressive water rate structure that allows them to fund some of their operations, with additional water and sewer revenue. The proposed rates should increase water revenue by 44% the first year. The additional revenue will allow for the restoration of water reserve fund. The current cash balance there in that fund is $164,000. I guess that's less than 2 well failures away from being depleted. And like I said, eventually these substations are the general fund and operations and capital improvements. Orders were prepared by City Attorney Ryan Peck, approved as form. Recommend the City Council adopt the ordinance establishing water service charge by amending section 50.109 of the Code of the City of Goddard. Are there any more questions?
Well, that sludge was pretty expensive to haul off.
Yeah.
I mean, clean the tanks just a couple months ago, right? It was.
Yeah, Brooks out here, yeah, it went up.
Yeah.
It went up a lot. It went up. It was the same forever. I mean, I'm talking like first 10 years I was here, it was the same rate, it was like $1,200 a month or something insignificant, and that all of a sudden doubled and then like quintupled or something like that. But again, that's
No, it was the what are those big things called?
aeration.
The big tanks that we just cleaned out that hasn't been cleaned out for like 10 years.
Aeration basins.
Yeah, we haven't cleaned those out for so long, we just finally cleaned them out. It was, how much was that? That was 27,000?
Well, the thing is that we know with the current growth that we have, the city is going to have to find a new source, whether that's purchasing water from somewhere or if it's finding our own wells and piping it down here, storing it, etc. And storage is probably going to be something we'll need to increase anyway. So this will put us in a much better position to address that when it gets here, because we'll have been able to put money into reserve, we'll be able to pay for some of that stuff with cash and not necessarily have to bond it out. The city's debt service on the storage tank that we have now, and then the 16-inch supply line that runs along the trail, that matures in about 10 years from now. And that's going to be right around the time that we're going to probably need to look at some kind of supply and storage options, if not earlier. We know that our costs to connect to the rural water district, to be able to purchase from them, it's kind of a short-term bandit. We know that's going to be an expensive connection. And they're not giving it to us. We're going to be purchasing that water. So.
And I know, how far back do you have to go when we lowered those rates? I mean, we lowered the rates.
The debt service portion of the rates were lowered in, I want to say it was 21.
21, I think.
21. Yeah, and we were able to lower them because at the time we had historically low interest rates. And to basically refinance our debt, the rate was so low we were able to take advantage of that and actually lower the long-term repayment on our debts. We were able to lower it some, but again, that was just the debt service portion.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is if we hadn't lowered them, maybe in terms of percentages, the increase wouldn't be as great because we lowered them, now we're going back.
Yeah.
In addition
well,
to
that's very true. I would argue still the biggest issue with this rate structure is that we are charging too much. We are charging too little for usage.
That's fair.
We've got, I mean, you can pump 30,000 gallons a month here for something like $40 on your, the extra going on your bill for that usage. That's a lot of water.
And I would think that with what's going on in Wichita, that water rates with their new treatment.
No, I mean, I'll go back to
No, that's fine. We need to keep this thing moving, but I'm just saying that Wichita's gonna, when they ever figure out how much it's gonna cost to get
there was
this
a
one.
real argument about 10 years ago that our water and sewer bill was too high. We were higher than everybody else, but the reason for that was because we were the first one to build our sewer plant.
Right.
Everybody else is caught up to our bill, and I showed you that earlier.
Right,
It's all
exactly.
passes, so.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to waive the reading of the ordinance.
Make a motion to waive reading of the ordinance.
I second.
Aubrey's made the motion, Krista second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now entertain a motion to approve the ordinance.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Thank you, Aubrey. I'll second that. And we'll go to a roll call.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Trailer?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
The ordinance 967.
Thank you.
Okay, this is something that Craig and I have been working on for quite a while. It's probably something we should have addressed also years ago. Essentially, you know, we're again one of the few communities that does not charge a stormwater fee, and due to, you know, recent events, but, you know, events that we knew would come back to us with drainage, we knew that it would be prudent for us to begin collecting a stormwater fee to not only address our current needs, but also address our needs going forward as we continue to grow. So we're asking to pass a charter ordinance to bring a stormwater maintenance program, and also pay for some specific projects that we already laid out. I may have Harlan address those at a moment if you'd like to. The annual maintenance program includes cleaning, jetting, 1/5 of the city's stormwater infrastructure annually. This costs about $3,000 per day to do that. For stormwater improvement project to be completed, will include the excavation of the silt sediments in the east and south of the Dennis offices to the trailer park, the evacuation of vegetation, silt sediment in the easement running north to east of US 54 between the Eck Monument and rural construction, and the excavation of new detention runoff area east of the industrial road cul-de-sac. Surveyors have been at work on these areas, looking at what is going to be needed to make these improvements. However, a stormwater fee will be necessary to create a source of revenue for an annual maintenance program and to fund some of these projects. I don't think we have you should have in your packet the areas, the aerials that show both of those, or all three of those projects. The city lacks a revenue source to finance these necessary programs and projects. Normally, we would just use our other reserve funds, but we have, you know, our capital improvement fund, our sewer reserve, is typically where we would draw funds for things like this. But again, we know we have needs for both sewer and capital that do not include a regular operational maintenance program. Most of our peer communities have stormwater utility fee to provide funds to maintain this important part of public infrastructure. Proposed charter ordinance establishes a stormwater utility fee to fund the annual stormwater maintenance program and other stormwater improvement projects. This is a comparison of that shows the other cities what they charge in monthly fees for stormwater. You know, we're proposing $350 a month for residents, $550 a month for non-residents. Essentially, our water and sewer customers. And again, we're probably higher than some, lower than others. It's really a matter of you know, scale. We think that the rates we're proposing will, like I said, $350 a month for living unit for residential customers, and then $550 a month for subscribed to the charter ordinance for commercial customers. We believe this will provide a basically the wrong forecasting here, but this will provide, if you look in your packet, you'll see the forecast that I've laid out, that assuming we don't spend everything every year, we should be able to build up some fund balance fairly quickly, because you know, this is we think it's an equitable spread that will fund these, not only the great maintenance, but the improvements we want to do. I would suggest we probably not spend, maybe spend between 40 and 45% for the first couple of years to build up some fund balance, so we can look at bigger projects down the road that we'll be able to pay cash for, instead of having to, you know, borrow from our other capital and reserve funds.
questions?
So again, we'll need waive the reading and then roll call for approving the charter ordinance.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading of the charter ordinance.
I make a motion to waive the reading of the charter ordinance.
Brett makes a motion,
I second.
Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion now to approve the charter ordinance.
I make a motion to approve the charter ordinance.
Brett makes a motion,
Second.
Aubrey seconds. Roll call.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Mayor Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Trailer,
Yes.
Councilmember Collins,
Yes.
and it will be charter ordinance number 17.
My lucky number. Moving on. Item I4.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Along with our esteemed City Administrator, Brooke Brandenburg, our Public Works Director, is also taking the week off, so both of them are enjoying some well-deserved time off. So I will be presenting this next item on behalf of our Public Works Director. This goes hand in hand with the next agenda item regarding the Streets and Special Revenue Fund for 2025. This is discussing the $5 million in 5-year street rehabilitation plan. So as you are aware, we are in the first year of this 5 and 5 plan. So 2024 is the first year with it ending later in 2028. A portion of this program is being paid with CIP dollars. The rest of it is coming out of the streets budget. So as you'll see the breakdown, really we're looking at $1 million a year for the next 5 years, including starting in 2024, with $750,000 coming from the Capital Streets project, again CIP $750,000, and then $250,000 from the street maintenance. Included in the agenda packet this evening, I would reference a map which shows the streets that have been identified by city staff for either a full depth replacement or a mill and overlay. So you will see, based on the legend, so streets that are marked in red are taking place this year in 2024. 2025 are marked in yellow, 2026 in orange, 2027 in green, and 2028 in blue. Again, this is for informational purposes at this time. You need no formal action this evening, but this is just to let you know that part of this project for the next 5 years, including 2024, so most of it will be coming out of CIP, the CIP program, but some of it will be coming out of streets, which Matt will address in the next agenda item. And I will stand for any questions council may have.
Any questions? I'll just make a brief comment.
Yes.
Always, it starts with 42 and 30. 42 being Maze's base mill levy and 30 or 31 being ours. And over the last 20-some years, the city's operated at a very low mill levy, and street maintenance has been something that wasn't a priority. And at some point in time, we either turn these streets back to gravel, and we can be like Conway Springs, no offense to Conway Springs, but it's not only these streets, but if we don't do the appropriate sealing of the cracks for the A and B streets, they soon become C and D streets. So this is kind of a two-pronged approach, spending $250,000 actually trying to work on and keep the A and B streets, and then going back to some of these streets are 65, maybe 70 years old. And First Street, Second Street, Third Street, if you see the street and it has the spider cracks, it looks like a spider web, those cracks go all the way through 6-7 inches of asphalt to a base that doesn't exist. And so they're to the point where, unfortunately, it's a little more expensive than just doing a 2-inch overlay. But when they ran the trucks over those streets after the 2 inches was peeled off, Tina Powell said that the road did the wave. Because when the weight was on the road, it compressed it because the base doesn't exist. And then as it came off and the truck kept moving, the road waved as it followed the truck. We're playing catch up, I guess is what I would say, and call it. And if we want to have nice things, we got to take care of them. And this is something that I think it's important that we do. But it also impacts the rest of the community in terms of trying to do an appropriate work of maintenance on the streets and the seasons and St. Andrews and south of the school there and the other parts of the community.
Absolutely. So again, yes, these are as the mayor alluded to, these are the oldest streets in the community, so we're working on addressing them, what have been historically neglected. But again, yes, this is, again, part of a larger discussion. As we are developing the CIP for the next 10 years, this is going to be a portion of that, along with other significant street investments. As you'll recall, previously, in a previous council meeting, we did approve the contract with Trans Systems to do some of that initial design work on some of those major corridors in the community, 183rd, 199, looking at that as well. So again, this is just one component of the larger CIP that we'll be discussing throughout the budget process. But again, staff wanted to make sure that council was aware that this is the plan moving forward for this year and the next 4 years in terms of street improvements, especially in the older portions of the community.
And I think it's probably important to point out too that Brooke has a map and all these streets are graded A through D minus. And I believe the streets that we're starting on are the D minus graded streets. So there's a long history. He can go back and tell you that, you know, how many years back that they actually sealed cracks and did work on the different streets. So there's a good database there to show the neglect, I guess, maybe one way to put it.
So Oak Street to me is pretty bad, and that's not even rated on here.
So it might not be identified on here, but it has a rating as the mayor stated. So I'm more than happy to share that with Brooke about Oak Street when there could be a potential for rehab on that.
You fix the streets around Oak Street, then it becomes Oak Street. So.
Right.
Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the information. We'll move forward. Item I5. Matt?
So would you like a long leisurely trip through the street fund, or just hit the bullet points and keep moving?
Yes.
All right, so our we're building a focus on street fund. I will briefly cover our other special revenue non-appropriated funds, but briefly make focus on the street fund. The street fund is one of our 4 primary operating funds. It pays for a quarter of our administration and pays for a third of our public works, basically. So department goals: maintain the city's roadways, streets, right of way, keep civilization, street lights operational, keep signage updated to the latest standards, maintain the stormwater system with the resources available, and be proactive in addressing drainage. We also treat mosquito control during the summer season. Due to budget constraints in the state of Kansas, there remains uncertainty about whether revenue generated from fuel sales, essentially gas, tax rebate to buy gas, will continue to be remitted to cities. Currently, we're getting a little bit less every year, and that'll be reflected in revenue for you tonight. Additional revenue sources may be needed to fund major street rehab and upgrading the city's roadway system, which addresses what Ryan spoke about just a moment ago. So this is the overview for the street fund budget. The first column here is actual revenue and expenditure for 2023. The second column here is what we adopted for this year's budget. This is our estimate for this year with updated beginning fund balances. And this is what we're proposing will be the budget for 2025 and projecting out to 2026. The biggest change here is going to be the amount that I'm proposing to transfer in. When we get to the final budget, I may reduce that amount some. This would allow us to keep a fairly similar ending fund balance to what we anticipate at the end of the year this year. The reason this fund is operating, as you can see, at a lower, essentially spending more than we spent, that we brought in this fund for the past couple of years, because due to street projects and other reasons, we were not spending the full amount of the budget in this fund for several years. And we had, at one point, we had a fund balance that was higher than our annual budget. So we strategically, basically, limited revenue into the fund for a couple of years to bring down that fund balance. As you can see now, it's down to about, I'd say 40% of, ending fund, about 40% of the budget, which is probably a little more than it needs to be. So when we get our final transfers figured out, we'll adjust down this number of that revenue basically being transferred from general fund that is funded through property or sales tax from the city. Here you see we've got increases for the biggest increase looks like it's going to be for personnel services. That is, like I said, quarter of administrative and 1/3 public works, salary benefits, etc. You see there that we're still budgeting capital outlay for this operating portion of the street maintenance program. The rest will have to be funded through a transfer from the, or they'll basically be funded out of the capital improvement fund, and we'll need to have an additional revenue source to make that happen. Here's a breakdown, admin and operations. These are the two biggest cost centers for this fund. Again, a good portion of that is capital outlay, where we fund that portion of the street maintenance program. Costs here don't fluctuate very much because, again, most of our public works operations is sewer and water. And again, mosquito control, we still do that every year. Basically the cost of chemicals, because we pretty much just use other equipment for the sprayers and stuff. Occasionally we'll have to replace some of those things that last a long time. And again, we do transfer $50,000 out of this fund into the equipment reserve fund. We like to fund the equipment reserve fund with as many revenue sources as possible. So ideally we'd be funding a quarter of it from each of our four-man operating funds, and we continue to be able to do that in the street fund. Are there any questions about street? Okay, I'll briefly cover our other non-appropriated special revenue funds. First is Parks and Rec Fund, Fund 60. This is a fund where we transfer in from the general fund, and we build fund balance over time. And this is going to be for capital projects in our park system. This is not probably going to be a source of funding for the Big North Park project. That's going to be its own thing. That's going to be its own dedicated source of revenue, be it capital improvement cash, be it a bond at some point. And that's a much bigger project than we'd be able to collect here. This is a budgeted fund, meaning that we are required to adopt a budget for this fund, which means we are held to a maximum amount of expenditure for this fund year to year. So, like I said, if you look at here at the bottom, you see the cash balance up and down, a little bit up and down. But we're going to begin the year with about, I think it'll probably be more than that, because I think we're going to spend the full $50,000 for this year. We're going to have a good chunk that we will be able to spend next year for these kind of park projects. We know we want to do something in Dean's Park. We know we want to build, we're obligated to build a small park in one of our residential developments. We know that there's other amenities we would like to add to our park system here on this side of town. So we're going to have a lot of ability to do that next year. Whether we spend the entire $250, whether we spend half of it, whatever, I'm putting enough in there. So if we do decide to do a lot next year, we have the ability, we have the flexibility to do that. And again, we've got a very decent fund balance there, and we've built up over several years, so it's a good time to spend some. Now we know that park projects of the scale we would like to do are going to be very expensive and need a lot of planning. But we also know there's smaller stuff that we can tackle at Dean's Park. We can tackle the basketball court. We can do some other things to that small park over there. We've thrown around ideas about replacing that playground equipment over there with equipment for small kids, so they're not falling off the big stuff at Linear Park. We've got smaller stuff, and then possibly doing more of the type of interactive stuff, the sensory stuff that we're talking about for our other parks as well. So this gives us flexibility to do that. Tourism Promotion Fund. This is basically at this point, it's basically a pass-through fund. This is the fund we collect the hotel taxes, and per current policy, we are gonna be spending this down as part of our contribution to the Goddard Chamber of Commerce. And so, we were limited in the amount we could pay them out of this fund for this year. But I'm putting enough budget in there next year that we can pay down that fund balance. Have the flexibility to pay down that fund balance to them as part of their annual appropriation. I'm not exactly sure what that's gonna be. It's much higher now than it used to be, but they're performing a lot more services for us than they have in the past as well. So when this fund balance is depleted like that, what I'm gonna suggest is going forward is whatever we collect is what we remit to them, and any other, per our contract, for whatever agreement we have with them, we'll use our, the other general fund line items that we typically use to fund the Chamber of Commerce. And finally, this is, again, another pass-through fund. This Tanganyika has a community improvement district, and they levy a 2% sales tax on their land. And so they remit that to the state every month. The state collects it, remits it back to us. We pay 1% for administration per our agreement, and then we pass whatever's collected back to Tanganyika in the form of tax payment. And obviously, they don't collect $100,000 a year. I just put that number in there because we'll have the ability to both collect and remit the full number there, whatever's collected on their behalf. Are there any questions about any of those budgets? Next week at our first new meeting, we're going to have the appropriated funds, meaning general fund, which is the gross majority of our city operations. General fund is going to be public safety, it's going to be administration, parks and recreation, the portion of it that's regular operations. We'll have both community development, planning and zoning, code enforcement, etc. And then we'll also be presenting budget for the library, the 3 mills we levy on their behalf, and then the bonded interest fund as well, which is also legally appropriate fund because it receives sale or property tax revenue. If that's all, we will move on to item I6, revenue neutral rate authorization. Per the current state of Kansas budget law, we are required, if we plan to exceed the revenue neutral rate, which is the mill levy rate that we would have if we did not take into account our valuation growth. And so it would be a reduction in the actual mill levy. If we were going to levy the exact dollar amount of taxes we levied last year, that's what the revenue neutral rate would be. And if we want to levy more than that, which of course we do because we've got a 14% growth again this year, we need to send notice to the county by Thursday of this week, or Thursday or Friday this week, that we are going to do so. So in the past, I would have just sent this on my own under my authority as CFO, but going forward, because there's a possibility we'll have a mill levy increase, we want to be transparent as possible and bring this before you get authorization to send that notice. Like they described all that already. I will point out though that with the R&R rate, the rate that we are going to give county notice of is a sort of a no more than this amount.
Cap?
It's a cap. So you're not obligating yourselves to increasing the mill levy tonight. You are not obligating yourselves in any way whatsoever. This is simply giving us the flexibility to, if we want to, increase the mill levy in our formal budget adoption, which has a publication requirement and a waiting period requirement before we can do that. And so at that future date, which hopefully will be September 3rd, when we have those hearings and adopt, we will have the ability, the flexibility to adopt up to a 10 mil increase over what the actual mill levy for last year was. So we're gonna, and we plan to, I'm assuming during our budget workshop discussions, we're gonna have multiple scenarios of what it will look like, kind of cash that, for the kind of revenue that various mill levies would generate, etc. So like I said, this gives us the flexibility to raise up to 10 mils, which is 1% of the assessed valuation of a residential home. And I want to reiterate that with this graph here that shows what the value, what 10 mils would look like to an increase in property tax payments for a home. So we're going to use a home that's valued at $250,000 for this example. The assessed rate, to get the assessed valuation, is 11.5% of that amount, which means the assessed rate, which is the assessed value, which is the value that your taxes based off of, for a $250,000 home is only $28,750. Which means that a 10 mil increase, or 10,000 increase, is what mil means, or 1%, would be $287.50 on that home for the city portion of the mill levy. So the city's total mill levy, assuming we raise it by 10 mils, would be 41.293 mils. That bill would be, for the city portion, would be $11,087.17, up over $899,067, what it is at the current mill rate. So it is 10% mill would increase the tax burden by $287.50. Like I said, this notice will allow the city flexibility to levy up to 10 mill increase during the township 2025 budget later this year. We recommend that you authorize us to have Terry sign and remit that notice to the county hopefully tomorrow.
Question? I'll just make a couple quick comments. The overall mill levy that citizens of Goddard paid in 2023 is 134.56 mils. So our 30 mils represents 23.25% of the total tax. And a 1 cent mill next year will generate for the city somewhere between $75,000 to $77,000. The other entities, the school district, the county, yesterday or this last week, the county's plan is to reduce their mill levy by 2.7 mils. So they're trying to probably hold the revenue neutral rate for the county. I'm not sure. The school district is probably a year away from actually increasing any of their bond and interest funds, because I think they're talking about starting the process of building another building. So some, if we went the full 10, if the county would reduce theirs by 2.7, then the actual total increase for an individual's tax, would only be at this point, 7.3 in terms of mills. So, and then we haven't had a discussion in terms of what part of this fits into the discussion that we'll be having. It relates to the CIP and how we fund not only the road projects, but the road maintenance, but also other projects as it relates to the extension of Crown Drive, widening 183rd, work on Maple, work on Pond East. So there's just a lot of working pieces to this, and it's a cap at this point. So we're not committing to raising everybody's taxes by 10 mils, but to do some of the things that we're talking about, there's probably going to be some increase. So, but this cap just sets the top end limit for discussions.
It gives us flexibility.
Flexibility going forward. So, any other comments or questions?
Terry, we don't need a resolution on this, do we?
No.
Okay. As long as we have your consensus to forward the notice to the county, we'll make that happen.
Is everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll consider that a vote, I guess. Okay, next item. Who's on first?
I think it's my turn.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Brett Schober, Steeple Nicholas and Company, out of Wichita. It's getting kind of late, so I'll be as brief as I can, but this is item I-7, related to Kevin's item earlier in the agenda. Cloverleaf Farms Phase 2, Phase 3, and Arbor Creek Phase 2. He spoke about the assessments. This is related to the bond sale that permanently finances those projects. Some background, as I stated, there's 3 different projects included in this. On June 1st of 21, the City Council issued geotemp notes, Series 2021-2, to provide interim finance for Cloverleaf Farms Edition Phase 2 projects, water distribution and street improvements. Those notes mature on October 1st of this year.
On August 3rd of 21, the City Council issued GO Tent Notes 2021-3 for interim finance for Arbor Creek Addition Phase 2 projects. Those were sanitary sewer, stormwater sewer, paving, and water distribution improvements. Those notes mature also on October 1st of this year. And then in May 5th of 2022, City issued GO Tent Notes 2022-1 for interim finance to Cloverleaf Farms Addition Phase 3 projects, also street and water line improvements. These notes mature on October 1st of 2025. The projects are now complete, final costs have been calculated, special assessment process is being conducted. You had a public hearing earlier tonight. Property owners are being notified or have been notified that they will have an opportunity to prepay any or all of their assessments. Any amount prepaid will be used as a source in the bond issue. Any amount not prepaid will be permanently financed with these GO bonds, and bond payments will be collected via special assessment taxes over 20 years. Once the assessment process is complete, Stifel Public Finance will structure and market the 20-year GO bond issue to investors, and the payments will be assessed to property owners benefiting from these specific projects. The total payoff amount of those 3 temporary notes on October 1st of 24 is $2,240,546.50. The city has unexpended note proceeds totaling $423,714.06 due to total project costs coming in below original estimates. That will be used to pay down the amount of the GO bond. We'll be issuing fewer bonds to account for those unexpended note proceeds. After cost of issuance and capitalized interest to pay interest until taxes can begin to be collected, the total bond size is estimated at $1,980,000. The size could be adjusted based on if any property owners prepay their special assessments. For cost and timing efficiencies, and as state law permits with a smaller size, be a negotiated sale, with Stifel acting as the underwriter finding buyers for the bonds. The bond issue will have 20 maturities, and 100% of the payments will be assessed to the property owners. Stifel scheduled to market the bonds on September 10th, and the mayor and clerk are authorized with adoption of this resolution to sign the bond purchase agreement, locking the interest rates on that date, given certain parameters are met, as long as the principal amount does not exceed $2 million and the true interest cost does not exceed 4.9%. They'll be authorized to sign the bond purchase agreement and will be authorized to proceed. Similar bond issues have sold closer to 4% in recent weeks, and that's where we hope to be at. But we still have a few weeks to go, the rating to get, and we can't sell bonds until approximately September 10th. After bonds are sold and rates are locked, Stifel will present the results of the sale to the council on September 16th, and the council will consider the bond ordinance and bond resolution that finalizes the bond sale. Given everything goes well, the bond issue is scheduled to close on October 1st. On that date, adequate funds will be sent to the state treasurer's office to retire the temporary notes. Financials, there is a small, publication of notice related to the bond sale. All cost of issuance will be paid for with bond proceeds, which will eventually be special assessed to the property owners in the improvement district. Bond payments will be paid for via special assessments to property owners that did not prepay their entire assessment. Legal, bond sale resolution and supporting documents are authorized by project authorizing resolutions 2119, 2120, and 2128 through 2131, 2204, 2205, and the KSA 126A01 et sec special assessment statute. Have been drafted by bond counsel Kevin Cowan and Gilmore and Bell, and have been reviewed by myself and City Attorney Ryan Peck who approves to form. Your staff's recommendation is to adopt the bond sale resolution authorizing the offering for sale of general obligation bonds, Series 2024-B of the City of Goddard, Kansas. That's a voice vote, and I'd be happy to stand for any questions you may have.
Questions?
Nope, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the bond sale resolution.
We have a motion on the table.
I'll second.
Herb made the motion, Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. I've got the next one as well. I-8, 23rd South Edition, Phase 1 Geotemp Notes Sale Resolution 2024-3. Background: on May 20th, 2024, City Council adopted numerous resolutions authorizing infrastructure improvements to the 23rd South Edition Phase 1 development. This is Phase 1 of the project. There's a table there that outlines the improvements in that specific area, the resolution authorizing those, and the estimated amounts. Those are project amounts. They do not include temporary note interest or financing costs. On June 17th, 2024, City Council adopted a resolution authorizing the offering for sale of Geotemp Notes 2024-3 in the estimated par amount of $6,315,000 on July 15th, which is today, and to provide interim finance to fund the 23rd South Edition Phase 1 projects. With this approval, Stiefel Public Finance, City's financial advisor, prepared the preliminary official statement and advertised the note sale to potential purchasers, banks, underwriters, and investors. This is step 2 of the process. And this morning at 10 a.m., we opened the bids and evaluated them for accuracy. Did you put in my updated slides?
You should be in there. Just keep going.
Just keep going? Okay.
Just keep going.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Once the first Stiefel did work with bond counsel to prepare the transcript. I think I'm missing a slide. Like that. Well, I will fill it in. We received 3 bids this morning. The 3 bids were from, give me just a second here. I'm going to pull it up on my end. I apologize, I might have sent them the wrong slides. But we received 3 bids this morning at 10 a.m. The best bid was from Piper Sandler and Company with a true interest cost of, I believe it's 3.48%. Here we go, 3.42%. Best bid was from Piper Sandler and Company at a true interest cost of 3.420056%. The cover bid was from Huntington Securities, really close cover bid at 3.427169%. And Robert W. Baird and Company had the third best bid at 3.714315%. So we received 3 bids, and 2 of the bids were extremely close. Okay. Due to interest rates being lower than estimated and substantial premium bid by the purchaser, we were able to downsize the issue from $6,315,000 down to $6,180,000. With bid premium, the lower size will lower the overall interest cost to the temporary notes. It will fully fund the project petition amounts, capitalize interest, cost of issuance, and it will provide an added project contingency of about $115,000 in case of cost overruns or approved change orders. It's recommended that the City Council accept the best bid provided by Piper Sandler and Company at a true interest cost of 3.420056% and adopt the note resolution to finalize the sale. Once approved, we'll work with bond counsel to get the transcript prepared and order the notes printed, submit the transcript to the Attorney General's office for approval. We're scheduled to close on August 1st, which is when funds will be available for the project. And this is the third and final step to be approved by the council. Once projects are completed, once projects are completed and notes are near maturity, which is December 1st of 27, final costs will be calculated. 100% of the costs are to be assessed to the property owners for the improvement district. Property owners will then have an opportunity to prepay, just like the last agenda item. But that'll come in a couple years.
Eventually, any amount not prepaid will be specially assessed over a 20-year period. Cost of issuance will be paid for with note proceeds, be eventually specially assessed to property owners via GO bonds. The semi-annual interest payments on the notes will be paid for by capitalized interest, also by note proceeds included within the financing, so nothing out of the city's coffers. The note sale, the note resolution and supporting documents were authorized by KSA 12-6801 et sec, and have been drafted by bond counsel Kevin Cowan of Gilmore and Bell and reviewed by City Attorney Ryan Peck with proofs before. It is your staff's recommendation and my recommendation to accept the best bid from Piper Sandler and Company, who provided the lowest true interest cost for these notes, and then adopt the note for sale or the note resolution authorizing directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of general obligation temporary notes, Series 2024-3. I'd be happy to stand for any questions on this item.
Question?
You've been through this a lot. It's pretty straightforward.
I'll make a motion to accept the best bid, the lowest true cost. Second.
I second.
Crystal seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion for number 2 now, in that resolution.
I make a motion to adopt the note resolution authorizing and directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of general obligation temporary notes, Series 2024-3.
Second?
Krista makes the motion. Brent seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help. Thank you. Item I-9. Master fee step.
Last one. So this is I-9 resolution amending the master fee schedule. So at the November 17, 2014 City Council meeting, City Council adopted a resolution establishing a consolidated master fee schedule so city staff and the public can quickly locate the appropriate fees. From time to time, these fees should be amended to more accurately reflect costs associated with services and infrastructure provided by the city. City staff are asking to amend the master fee schedule to help offset costs associated with growth and development. So City Council is considering approving a resolution to amend the master fee schedule. Some of the changes are listed below. A full list is included in Exhibit I-9A in your agenda packet. But for one, these are some of the key items. This comes from the subdivisions listed fees. So site plan, we originally had no charge. We're going to start charging $200 with approval of City Council. Lot splits are $40 each, and now we're going to do it at $150 per lot. We've seen a lot of these lot splits come up, especially when it comes to twin homes. It's a requirement. We require if you are going to do a twin home, you have to split the lot down the middle. Residential water taps are $1,500 regardless of building permits, and now we're going to do it per dwelling unit. So if it's a duplex, as mentioned before, we're going to now start charging $3,000 for residential water taps. So it's $1,500 for one side, $1,500 for the other side. It'll be the same for a sewer tap fee. It'll be, instead of $1,500, it'll be $1,500 for one side and another $1,500 for the other side. So we'll be generating an extra $3,000 for every duplex building permit that we issue. We don't have a unit maximum. It's only when the development switches to a 2-inch meter as opposed to a 3/4 inch that we would then switch it to a commercial rate as opposed to the residential rate. So you would see that for like an apartment complex. If it's got 50 units or something of that nature, you're not going to have 50 meter cans in the ground. Usually you have a bulk meter at 2-inch or larger to supply water, and then we would charge it at the commercial rate. Equity fees, we're going from $500 to $750, and same for the water infrastructure equity fee, would be going from $500 to $750. We are simply changing the storm system maintenance fee to stormwater construction maintenance fee, so it doesn't conflict with the terminology used for the stormwater fees that we just recently adopted under earlier agenda items. So as mentioned, there are some other miscellaneous fees that we've changed in Exhibit I.9A. So these ones are to help alleviate some of the cost of growth, and as Matt had mentioned previously, it'll help buffer our reserve funds, because most of this is going to go to reserve funds. Financially aligned, legally excluded as a form of wrong property Morris Lane. It is recommended City Council adopt the resolution for amending the master fee schedule to include changes listed in Exhibit A of the resolution for voice voting. But at this point, if there's any questions, feel free to ask it at this time.
Questions? Entertain a motion to approve the resolution?
Make a motion to approve resolution.
Maureen makes a motion. Second.
I second.
Seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on, city administrator's report. Ryan's stepping in for Craig again. Thank you.
You are welcome. Due to the lateness of the hour, I will simply highlight just a few of these points. If you have other questions, please feel free to go with me either after the meeting or tomorrow. First, just want to remind everyone that as recently was adopted, we will now be meeting, having a third city council meeting every month on the fourth Tuesday. That'll be here at noon, and that will be a hard stop at 1 p.m. And so we'll be working on putting together that first agenda this week for publication on Friday. But again, please do mark your calendars for July 23rd, because that'll be our next city council meeting. Along with that, going to the bottom of page 1, we are in budget season, as you know. So on July 23rd, next Tuesday, we'll be reviewing the general library and debt service funds. And then on August 5th, the comprehensive budget presentation, the revenue neutral rate and regular public hearings will be set. And then the hearings will be held in September. The budget will be finalized soon after that. Going to the back page, just to highlight, we did host a public open house last week for the Goddard North Park project. We will also be attending the school district's community retreat. That's going to be held on July 26th, as well as on August 8th, attending an elementary school, one of their back to school nights. Again, we're looking for more feedback, particularly the younger generations, the younger members of our community, looking for their input to get some additional community engagement and feedback as we are finalizing the North Park Master Plan and the Phase 1 schematic design. Again, the website is referenced with the story map and provide input in that way as well. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that we have selected a new Chief Financial Officer. Her name is Brooke Carroll, and her first day will be Thursday, August 1st. So Brooke comes to us with a varied background in both local government and has a CPA. She was previously the city administrator in Cherryville, Kansas, and most recently the director of member services for Kansas, the Kansas Power Pool, or KPP. So again, Brooke's first day will be August 1st, and we're very excited to have her on board and to join the city team. She's going to bring a wealth of experience and a great background to us, and be able to still be involved with the 2025 budget, that process, and learning the other facets of the city's finance. So again, welcome to Brooke. Brooke Carroll on August 1st. And then lastly, just another mention, National Night Out will be on Friday, August 9th. That'll start at 6 p.m. and be located at Linear Park. I would stand for any questions that council may have regarding Craig's report. Thank you.
Bring it. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Gathering body comments on K. Start with you.
Yeah, a lot of positive things happen. I mean, we have to, as we grow, we have to fund it, you know, and we have to keep looking down the road. So I think there's a lot of good things that are accomplished. Thank you, staff, for everything you do.
Okay.
Oh, look at me.
I'm looking.
I'm ready to go.
All right. Krista.
Congratulations, Randy, on your appointment. We'll be very lucky to have you. I would just say that given the current discussion about housing in Goddard and moving forward, I look forward to figuring out what we want that to look like and then setting policies in place about our residential growth.
Thank you. Appreciate the fact that we're making an effort, I think sincerely, to do things in an open and honest manner, and we will continue to move forward. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Krista makes a motion.
Second.
There you go. Third. All those in favor, we're out of here. Bye.